prizes to be awarded. Back with 3 great dance champions, Tracy Wilson, Tessa Virtue, Scott Moir, who have turned to the broadcasting side, and thanks for all your help this week. And we were just showing a little flashback a while ago when you guys finished second here in Halifax to DeBroy-Lazon. It began your era, and Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poje were the bronze medalists, Scott.
Yeah, and their first nationals. Was that their first or second?
That was. They've been together about 5 months.
Unbelievable, and they're showing that experience here this week. I mean, I don't think they made a single step out of place. Good for them.
Tessa, your thoughts on their performance, and what do you see they have to do going forward to bring home the gold medal at Worlds?
It was such a nuanced and detailed performance. It's really evolved, that program, throughout the season. And what I noticed today was just the power and the strength they showed right to the very end. It's an emotional performance, and they really took the audience on a journey with them.
Do you think it's enough to get them the gold medal, Scott?
I think they're on the right path for sure. I mean, I was really impressed with the way that they competed this week. Sometimes nationals can be tough when you're thinking past to the World Championships, and I know that they've really been motivated since they kind of just lost it last year. So I'm just impressed how they came out. They really competed, and they were spectacular. I think that they will find themselves a lot closer to the top of the podium, and we'll be hoping and really cheering them on.
They are going to hand out medals here. You guys know what that's all about. Let's talk about Parody and Willette, and we have had this changing of the dance guard the last few years, and we see some teams that are rising up. I don't think this team surprises either one of you.
Absolutely not. This program, I think, is one of the highlights of the season for me. The piece of music, the way they interpret it. I love the transitions into and out of every single element. It's so thoughtful and such an intellectual approach to dance. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, what Tessa and I always love to see is the emotion in ice dance, and I don't think anybody right now is doing it better than these two. We've been watching them come up, and their connection together, I mean, and Simon and Garfunkel, I mean, it was such a great connection with the music as well. So
I think the Silverbird kind of reminded me of the Goose as well a little bit. It just goes back to Vancouver. We should let you know that the official world team will be announced later tonight, so there is no real confirmation, but you'd have to think that for Parody and Willette, this is such a quantum leap and getting a chance to go to a world championship. What was it like for you guys when you got to your first Worlds?
Well, your first Worlds you never forget, and actually we were lucky enough to go with DeBroy-Lazon. I remember Mary France saying to us, don't take this for granted. Really take in every single experience that you'll experience here. So, I mean, we're lucky to have people like Weaver and Poje that'll lead them through that first Worlds.
And then you've got Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier, a little quirky material, but you never know what to expect from them, Tessa.
This program keeps you on the edge of your seat. I love that you never know what to expect from these two. It's very Christopher Dean inspired. I know he didn't necessarily choreograph this program, though they have worked with him many times in the past. I love this program. I love that they're pushing the envelope and constantly doing different things. Very innovative.
And the reaction is priceless. Scotty, when was the first time that you felt that Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poje had what it took to become Canadian champions and do what they're doing?
Oh, I mean, I think when you come third at your very first nationals, that's in the making. And I grew up skating in the same school as Andrew, and I always knew that he would be great. And it's been nice to see them really come into their own the last 4 or 5 years. We'll be cheering for them going onwards to the World Championships, that's for sure.
What was it about the area that you grew up? Because so many of the fine male skaters,
It's the water. It's the water.
We throw back to our coach Paul McIntosh and choreographer Suzanne Killing, and I mean he had a novice champion this year, so obviously he's still developing young talent. But I mean, look at Poje's connection with his blade and his command over his. He's such control in his skating.
Tessa, who do you think will be their greatest challenge going forward?
Well, you know what? I think they have to stick to their game plan, and it would really only be themselves. I think you can get tripped up in focusing only on that World Championship, and they've maintained their composure this week. I think they've shown us what a class act they really are, and if they can continue that heading into the World Championships, there's no stopping them.
And again, they're getting their medals. You know, one of the things, too, is that as you have seen in the ice dance world over the last few years, mistakes are critical and costly, as we saw, or even today. Before a World Championship, you got a few weeks here. What did you two concentrate on leading up to a World Championship?
Well, there is quite a bit of time before the World Championships, and it seems like that World Championship's getting pushed later and later in the year. So I think they'll probably go back to this program, strip it down a little bit, and really take advantage of every single moment. They seem to have the elements mastered. It's making them even more special within the program that I think will set them apart from the rest of the crowd.
Was there one particular element that you found the toughest in competition? Was it the step sequence? What did you find, Tessa?
You know, mentally, I think Twizzles can stumble you a little bit just because there's so much anticipation, so much pressure on those few turns, and it's such a balance thing. You know, if your shoulder's out of place, if your hips aren't in line, it can really take a turn and set the tone for the program. But they looked so solid in their Twizzles today. It was really lovely to see.
Well, they're on the podium now. They'll get their medals shortly. Tessa and Scott, thank you. We'll hear from you later tonight. There's Team Canada on their way to the World Championships. And there's Elvis Stojko, as a matter of fact. He's the athlete ambassador here. He knows everything about Halifax.
Everything that I've been wanting to do in this short program in competition unfolded the right way.
There it is. Yes. Okay.
Translating the practices to the competition has been frustrating this year, and maybe being in the right environment finally and being able to really relax and not have to make the extra effort to land my jumps, kind of let things settle. Had a really relaxed upper body, which is key for me going into my jumps, especially the quad. And it's a great step forward for the rest of the season. The men's field has changed a lot in the last year, in good and bad. These guys are whipping out quads like it's cake, and I'm not there yet. I'll be honest, I'm not there. But how do I get to that point is to not panic and really think what's the best path to take to get me to that point. If I have to down the road, maybe in 2018, add that quad sal, then yeah, I'll be ready to do it then. But what do I need to do to be proactive to prepare myself for that? And the first step, pretty obvious, is to add another triple axel, which I haven't done in a long time, and I'm ready for it.
Mike?
Scott, sometimes I think that we forget maybe just how dangerous skating can be. Was that an example of it last night?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I think this thing happens more often in competition than you think. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of adrenaline. In particular in the pairs, it's a very, very tight race for that world team. So they're trying to get as much height on this particular element as they can. And you know, very quickly that turned into, obviously, Michael just trying to protect Kirsten's safety while she's up in the air, kind of dangling there. And it's funny how quick that changes, but you know, it's a very slippery sport. We're on a tiny little blade, and you're trying to milk as many points out of your elements as you can. Especially with the tight competition that they are in right now. Tessa, the fact that they were able to not only complete the program, but do it cleanly the rest of the way, is that a testament to their training and maybe mental toughness?
Well, Kirsten and Michael are well-trained athletes, and what a testament to their training that not 10 seconds after that major mishap, they were across the ice, nailing their side-by-side triple toes, and continued with a really powerful and emotional performance. But that comes back to practice. At home, skaters need to practice how to fall. I know our coach used to have a whistle, and every time she'd blow it, we'd have to fall and get back up as quickly as possible and continue with the program. So, you know, it'll be really interesting to see both mentally and physically how they recover for the long program tonight, but I was so impressed with their tenacity and their grit.
Well, I think a lot of people are very interested, and we know that they got medical treatment today, but they are going to compete this evening, and we will see how that physical and mental toughness is put to the test tonight.
Well,
Well, Mr. Elvis Stojko, what an honor for me to have a chance to chat with you, buddy. Jeez, it makes me a little bit nervous, but you're here as the official athlete ambassador to the 2016 Nationals in Halifax, so can you take us through what that means?
Yeah, it's I've been busy meeting people, working with sponsors, getting in touch with all the fans and the volunteers, right down with the little kids that are out there picking up the flowers and patching the ice. I had a couple of great stories with some of the kids that are now not kids, they're a little bit older, but I skated with them in shows and connecting with everybody and being out there on the Jumbotron and doing all the fun games and stuff, and just being around it, being a rep for the kids.
Your perspective on the sport is so fantastic because you're in the game for so long, and I think what fans want to know is what you thought of Patrick Chan's short program here at Nationals.
Well, my wife and I had a perfect seat right at the end to watch Patrick skate, and the really cool thing about it too is I know that one of the things they've been working on is if he has a subpar warm-up or if he's have a couple of days of rough skating, he's able to pull it out of the hat, and that's the biggest thing that he needed to work on. And I know in the warm-up he had missed a couple jumps and then he left them. And he said, oh, you know what, I'm going to do them in the program. that is a huge, huge sign of maturity. And at that stage, to be able to know that you can do it, you don't need to do it perfect because you're using the warm-up as a warm-up, not as a warm-up to build your confidence. It's a warm-up to just get your body in the zone and go out there. And that's a real sign that he's got the maturity, and that's that next step, that's that next level, you know, and that was an amazing thing to see last night. He skated fantastic.
As athlete ambassador, have you had any interactions with some of the younger skaters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one was Keegan Messing, who I saw a number of years ago at the U.S. Nationals, and he was one of my favorite skaters, and I talked to him, and he started skating, he told me, because he watched me skate. He wanted to skate like me. And that was a huge thing, and I love his skating, and I saw him yesterday. I talked to him a little bit and patted him on the back. I loved his program and all that, and promoted that, and he was awesome. Talked to Nam a little bit. I had some time with him, gave him some tips on, you know, he's growing, he's changing, he's growing into himself. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing great. I know you want to catch Patrick, and it can happen. Just take your time, you know, all the way through that. And then, of course, Kevin Reynolds, who's on his way back. He's mentally looks sound. He's there, his mind's clear. Made the mistake with the triple axel, but I gave him a couple tips with that. And Joanne being there, I've known John. I won my Canadian title with her back in junior title back in 1988. And you know, it's great to be able to converse with the kids, and they're so respectful. And I just like to help out and give my little bit of advice when I can, or when they come and they tug on, hey Elvis, hey, how you doing? You know, and talk and chat, and it's a great thing to be able to be around for them, especially now having, you know, so many years of experience being in these championships, and they're going through that and going through those hurdles.
What a luxury for those athletes. So thanks for being here, Elvis, and we look forward to many good memories down the road.
Yeah, for sure.